Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast, live at youtube.com/Paul Gallant and twitch.tv/Gallant Says weeknights. And by weeknights, I mean Mondays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock Central. Still, I got to update the copy that I've got in my template. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And if you want to get in touch with the show, gallantsays@gmail.com, at gallantsays on Twitter, the Gram, TikTok, if you want to get in touch with the show. You can also interact with it live if you tune in live to this show. Again, youtube.com/Paul Gallant or twitch.tv/GallantSays. It is Monday, May 22nd of 2023. We're going to talk about how coaches are getting a raw deal in sports these days. We will also take a look at something taking place in Galveston, Texas annually. And I guess it's a big event. I don't know how it is, but it's become something else. I want to start, though, with some news coming out of the NFL this evening. We found out via Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network that the NFL Draft is coming to Green Bay. Here is the statement. The NFL announced the 2025 NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, will take place in Green Bay, inside and around iconic Lambeau Field and Titletown. The announcement was made today at the NFL Spring League meeting in Minneapolis, following a review of the proposal by the Fan Engagement and Major Events Advisory Committee and full ownership. Wonder how much they went over if they decided on Green Bay, Wisconsin eventually. The draft has become our biggest off-season event. Pause. It shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't. I mean, people are interested in the first round of the NFL draft. But are you really going to fly out to some random city to watch the draft live, pay way too much money for drinks while standing in a large and or cramped area, hoping that you'll be able to hear the actual audio of the television broadcast of the draft? Even if you love the NFL, are you really going to turn that draft into a destination trip if it's not in a destination city? Because Green Bay, it's not a destination city. More on that in a moment. Let's continue to read this statement by Robo Roger Goodell. We're excited to work with the Packers and Discover Green Bay to bring the 2025 NFL Draft to Green Bay and iconic Lambeau Field. With the help of numerous local partners on the ground, our prospects and fans will be treated to an incredible week-long experience that shows off the city of Green Bay and the state of Wisconsin. Because if they wanted to do that, they should host it in Milwaukee. And this is coming from somebody who visited Milwaukee once for a wedding and who loved Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's great. This is in fucking Green Bay. Why? Mark Murphy, the president of the People's Republic of Green Bay, check that, president of the Packers, my bad. This is an incredible day for the Packers, Greater Green Bay, and the entire state of Wisconsin, as we are excited and honored to be selected to host the 2025 NFL Draft. The Packers have a rich and proud history that goes back to the early days of the NFL and are the only community-owned team promoting communism. Right, that's right. That connection to our league's heritage, combined with the great passion Packers fans will bring, will make the draft a memorable event for those in attendance and NFL fans watching around the world. If you're a Packers fan, this might be fun. And I think that's it. The statement continues, blah, 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 blah. Why fucking Green Bay? Why, in this country of ours, is there such an obsession for every single community to get to host its own event? Why? That's something I don't quite get. Green Bay, of all places, why there? because there's just football there. That's it. You need some proof? I looked it up. It's like the NFL Combine being in Indianapolis every single year. You'll constantly hear NFL writers, NFL media types talk about how great Indianapolis is, which they're visiting in fucking February, by the way, when it's freezing cold, because everything's close to one another. Like that, for these, let's be honest, boring people that have made it their life to cover the NFL. No offense. Those people love Indianapolis, which is a shithole in the middle of Indiana, a nothing state. Everyone raves about this steakhouse because of the jumbo shrimp that they have at a steakhouse in Indiana. But that NFL Combine event is held in Indianapolis every single year. And the NFL has turned it into an event. The NFL Draft is a bigger event. And I get that the NFL Draft is trying new cities. Kansas City was probably a fun experience for some. But Green Bay, fucking Wisconsin. What else is there to do? If I'm going to make a weekend trip, what else am I going to do other than watching the draft on a television screen? I'm a diehard football fan, me right here. And I still want to do other things over the course of that weekend. Talk about football and sports every single day for work. I want to do other things. So I thought to myself, okay, well, let's take a look at some of the best things to do in Green Bay. TripAdvisor.com was the first website that I saw. And the top attractions in Green Bay, guess what? Number one, Lambeau Field. There's not going to be any Packer games in April or in early May. Number two, the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. Oh, some more Packers shit. 3, Bay Beach Amusement Park. Let's take a look at this Bay Beach Amusement Park. The retro charm of Bay Beach includes old-fashioned prices. Rides are only 20 cents. Okay. That could be fun, I guess, but I'm assuming if rides are only 20 cents, it's not that good of a absolute place to go. It's not that good of a theme park. Green Bay Botanical Gardens. I love to travel to go to Botanical Gardens. Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary. The National Railroad Museum. Okay, well, maybe there's some train enthusiasts out there. The Automobile Gallery. The new Zoo and Adventure Park. Titletown, where you can play ping pong, foosball, bocce. There's the Captain Walk Winery. The Meyer Theater. The Neville Public Museum. All right. I mean, some of these places seem fun. What else do we have here? How about, who could forget Ashwaubenon Park? Let's take a look at the pictures. This looks pretty nice. It's like a really big pool that looks like it was carved out of a parking lot. Is this the only picture they have? Let's see if there's another picture. They posted the same picture twice. Wait, hang on. There's a difference. There's a difference here. Nope, it's the same picture twice. Okay, fine, but this 85-acre facility overlooks the Fox River. It's not the Fox River, but it overlooks it. It offers a picnic area, playground equipment, and a 3 million gallon man-made lake. Hell yeah. Beachfront, a diving platform, and it operates June to August, so it won't even be open. Okay, well, we can't go to this one because it's not going to be open. How about Pamperin Park? It's the largest developed park in the, not country, county. Picnic areas, playground, historic stone pavilion. It's a popular destination for family reunions, weddings, and special events. Well, when you go and see the 2025 NFL Draft, obviously you want to have a family reunion attached to that. But what else do we have to do in Green Bay, Wisconsin? How about, Sips and Scribbles. I've heard of this place. Enjoy an evening of painting while sipping on your choice of beverage. It is self-led with pre-printed canvases, all supplies included. Acrylic paints, paintbrushes, palettes, aprons, a relaxing atmosphere. She looks relaxed. And then, of course, who could forget the Packers Pro Shop, where I think that's the big shot that they have in Green Bay. So the draft is going to Green Bay. Look, if we're being honest with ourselves here, can we just hold these annual events in places that people want to go? Like, does it have to turn into a participation trophy kind of deal where everybody gets a chance to host? Some people don't exactly have the means to host, right? Some people's houses you don't want to go over. I'll admit, I don't invite people to my place because I'm pretty sure most of my friends have nicer places than mine. Why Green Bay? And I'm wondering what the Packers paid under the table to make this happen. Can Green Bay even support this? Do they have enough alcohol in the town for a bunch of people to come in for the draft? Do they have enough hotels? Do they have enough places to stay? I would imagine no, on all accounts. So this poor city is going to get overrun with a bunch of NFL junkies. It's not exactly like the best atmosphere that you want to have. So if you're a local of Green Bay, you're not going to like this. And I don't think many people are going to want to go here. You got to either fly to Chicago or you got to fly to Milwaukee and then you got to drive. Ugh, gross. Don't you hate it when friends have destination weddings? You got to fly there and then you got to like drive like a couple of hours or so. Twitch.tv/Gallant says, Boobsbot says, Green Bay has alcohol and meth covered for the tourists. I don't even know if Green Bay's that, guess I can't say cool, that different. You know, it just seems like hey, here's a town and there's a football team here. And it's got a lot of history and the stadium's cool. And there you go. Green Bay, Wisconsin. But I mean, it's strange to see where some events are being held. They should just do them in the same places every single year. I've always been of the belief that the Super Bowl and anything NFL related should take place in either Miami, even though the Miami Dolphin Stadium is kind of far away from Miami proper, Las Vegas, especially now that Las Vegas has an NFL stadium, Los Angeles, especially now that Los Angeles has an NFL stadium. Because of my love of Scottsdale, Phoenix, and then, last but not least, New Orleans, because that's a party city. Hold it in southern party cities. And I know that they held the Super Bowl in Dallas and it was essentially raining ice. And that Houston's hosted a couple of Super Bowls and those both went pretty well. The weather cooperated, I think, for both of those years. But here's the thing. Just do it in places that everyone wants to travel to. That's what you should do. Green Bay? Can't we do better than that? Can't we raise our standards for the vacations we go on? I remember once I was doing a radio show with somebody who was basically talking shit to me because I was going on a trip on a yacht in Croatia. And I think that this guy thought that because Croatia is near the Balkans that it was going to be an absolute shithole. And I was like, dude, you're from Baytown. Like, can we stop acting like we know what's good? And I would think that the NFL would have a little bit of a higher standard here. I mean, the billionaires, the owners are the ones that are determining where you go. Ugh, we're picking Green Bay, Wisconsin. Just disgusting. There's got to be something else in Green Bay, Wisconsin, right? Like, let me think. Oh, who could forget about the DG Clearing Gallery? The commissioned artworks of Brett Favre. 23 paintings done for Brett Favre by the important American portrait artist James Hartel and others. The paintings were commissioned by Brett Favre when he was with the Green Bay Packers to document and commemorate his time with the Packers. These heroic paintings tell the story of his achievements and relationships with the green and gold. All works are for sale. Admission is free. Okay, well, with the green and gold, is there a painting of Brett Favre's penis that he sent to Jen Sturger? Because that's part of the life. It tells the story, the ups, the downs. Is that something that is a part of this exhibit? I guess I gotta do it. Boobsbot is telling me to Google Green Bay Oval Office and says, trust me with ellipses. Twitch.tv/Galan says, I don't trust you at all, but I'm going to look it up anyway. Green Bay Oval Office is Green Bay's only gentleman's club. We provide one of the best adult entertainment atmospheres with premium bottle service and 5-star hospitality, all offered in an alluring atmosphere that is as sexy as it is sophisticated. It's a strip club in Green Bay. Shut the fuck up. Our friendly and beautiful girls are on hand 7 days a week to give you the show of a lifetime. Treat yourself to some executive indulgence on our junior executive presidential second floor. Or take a seat closer to our gorgeous entertainers on stage with whom you will spend unforgettable moments with in our plays. Oh, and look, there's a little sexy pictures. Boobsbot says, narrator, they were not beautiful. You're telling me the women of Green Bay, Wisconsin, cheese-fed, corn-fed, aren't going to be beautiful? I think that's offensive. How dare you? Can we talk about something going on in the world of sports that doesn't have to do with the NFL draft taking place in an absolute nothing burger of a city like Green Bay, Wisconsin? Can we talk about what's been going on in the world of sports? I don't know how many people watched Eastern Conference Finals Game 3 yesterday. I did. I'm a Celtics fan. Grew up in Boston. It's one of the two teams that I still enjoy the same way that I did growing up. The Patriots are the other. When you move and you live in city after city after city and you cover sports for a living, your sports fandom does get a little bit weird. But I still like the Celtics, and yesterday was a fucking disgrace. It was awful. Absolutely awful. The Celtics were never competitive. They were never awake. And Miami ran them out of the building essentially by midway through the second quarter. Joe Mazzulla is the head coach of the Boston Celtics. And after the game, he was asked about what happened and if he still has, I guess, the pulse of his team, if they still get him. Here is what Mazzulla had to say.
Joe, the biggest game of the season, a game you had to have, and you guys just looked completely lost after the first 6 minutes. What exactly happened out there?
I just didn't have him ready to play.
Over the last 48 hours?
Yeah, I just didn't have him ready to play. I should have, whatever it was, whether it was the starting lineup, whether it was an adjustment, I have to get them in a better place, ready to play, and that's on me.
I feel for Joe here because those words are probably going to doom him, even though he was thrust into a rather difficult situation replacing the head coach of the Boston Celtics who led the team to the NBA Finals just a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, before the start of this past year. And remember, that coach essentially took the entirety of that year to get that Celtics team to play the way that they were at the end of the year where they were on fire and through the playoffs up into that series against the Golden State Warriors. Mazzulla has been getting absolutely destroyed for the way that this series has gone. Timeout management, rotation management, all sorts of things. Play calls, a lack thereof. And I imagine he will end up getting fired for whatever happens in this series. But I don't think that failures by a professional sports team are always the fault of the coach. And we have gotten into that territory now. And I think I get why. If you're someone in charge of an organization telling yourself that a new guy in charge is going to net different results with the players you have, that's way easier than blowing the whole thing up. If you're the Boston Celtics and you have Jason Tatum and you want to keep Jaylen Brown around, what would you rather do? Like trade some of those guys and hope that you find players that are as good? That is almost completely unlikely. You're going to get what? Draft picks or young players with potential, but are you going to get just a straight swap? Why would you get a straight swap? You'd only get a straight swap if there's a reason that one team dislikes a player, that they would trade him straight up for Jaylen Brown or something like that, and that you would take that trade. It's probably going to be one that's not exactly level. So you would rather fire the coach and try things out with another one the next year. But just look at these NBA playoffs. The Bucks won the final in 2021. They fired Mike Budenholzer. And yeah, I get it. The Bucks were the 1 seed and they lost to the Heat in the first round. 8 seed takes down a 1 seed in 5 games. That is a bad look for Milwaukee. At least Milwaukee did beat Miami once. Boston does not look like it's going to beat Miami once in these Eastern Conference Finals. Doc Rivers and the Sixers had a 3-2 series lead on the Boston Celtics just in the last round of the playoffs. They lose the last 2 games and look like they don't have a pulse at the end. People aren't blaming Joel Embiid, the league MVP, for not playing well those last 2 games, or James Harden for not playing well those last 3 games. They are instead blaming head coach Doc Rivers, who doesn't have a good track record in the playoffs. But are we really acting like Mike Budenholzer in Milwaukee's the reason that the Bucks were pushed around by the Heat? Are we really acting like Doc Rivers is the reason that Joel Embiid, who's never been past the second round of the playoffs, and James Harden, who has a long track record equal to that of Doc Rivers of failing in the playoffs, are we really acting like the coach is the problem here? And I think that every single year, we're seeing more and more teams decide, you know what, it's the coach's fault. It's not the player's fault. Is this a byproduct of player empowerment? Maybe, but how often do you think game mismanagement can do in a team? Football, clock management, non-aggression or over-aggression during specific moments of a game, like not going for it on 4th down, deciding to punt, or maybe going for it on 4th down and not getting it, like Brandon Staley had the problem of. Baseball, it's even less of an issue, right? It's lineup decisions before the game, determining when to pinch hit, determining when to put somebody in defensively maybe, and determining how long to keep a starting pitcher in a game, when to take him out, when to go to the next reliever. A baseball manager has a rather easy job. In basketball, there's clock management, there's rotation management, and yeah, you have to draw plays up occasionally. But the players are the ones that are doing the majority of the work. And yet, coaches just seem to get fired left and right and left for the failures of players who no-show. What the fuck's Joe Mazzulla supposed to do? And I saw this tweet from Kevin O'Connor. Kevin O'Connor is a basketball writer for The Ringer. If you listen to Bill Simmons' podcast, you probably hear him a bunch on that. Here is what he had to say. Tweet, what an embarrassment. The Celtics are a mentally weak team with a clueless head coach. Big changes should come this summer. I mean, they were just down 3-2 in the previous series to the Philadelphia 76ers and won that series. They went to the NBA Finals last year. Are we really calling them mentally weak? And are we really willing to pin that all on Joe Mazzulla? Isn't that rather unfair? Isn't that kind of bullshit? Where does that all come from? Where have we decided to say, yep, it's just the coach. It's not the players. I remember this was an issue back in 2018? At the end of that year for the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson and the Texans go into the playoffs. Bill O'Brien's offense got crushed for the dud of a performance that they had against Indianapolis. But we blamed everything on O'Brien and that offense as opposed to blaming things on Deshaun Watson, who couldn't pick up blitzes, who looked lost out there. Now, the Texans in that situation didn't decide all of a sudden to blow up the entire operation. They brought Bill O'Brien back for another year, and maybe they should have fired him at that moment in time. I would say maybe they should have fired him as someone that's involved with general managing in any way, shape, or form, as opposed to, taking him out entirely. Maybe you minimize his responsibilities. But Watson was the reason that they lost that game. He played like ass. And I remember there were so many excuses that were made for Watson in that game. It was like, dude, he can't even see a blitz that's coming off the edge from a cornerback. These are things that you should be able to see before a snap, especially if you're going into your, at that point in time, his second year in the league, you should be a little bit better at that. I'm not saying you're psychic or better to the point where you're infallible. I'm just saying that you should be better than you were as a rookie. And he was making rookie mistakes in that playoff game. So to go back to where we're at here with this series between Boston and Miami, the Heat are likely going to win. They're going to move on to the NBA Finals, and clearly Jimmy Butler's tough, and Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA. But Joe Mazzulla is probably going to end up losing his job because of this. And while it might be warranted, I just think it's very convenient to blame the coach for a bunch of players playing like shit And it seems like we're doing that more and more and more and more in sports these days. And it does bother me a bit. And I'm trying to think where the hell it comes from. Maybe it comes from lower levels of sports. Maybe people that have kids and watch their kids play youth sports are part of the problem. And I say that because of something that I saw over the weekend, something that took place in Fort Wayne, Indiana. You can watch it at youtube.com/Paul Gallant, right, or twitch.tv/Gallant Says if you ever want to join the Gallant Says podcast in video form live and interact with the show. Here is a video that went viral over the weekend of a parent. See here, he's got a black hat on, glasses, tight t-shirt, looks to be sporting quite the farmer's tan. I'm going to guess he is in his early 40s, late 30s. He was angry with a referee in what looks to be a middle school basketball game, and things got violent. Here he is walking out to the referee. There seems to be some woman standing in between the two of them. There's a jump in the frame, and all of a sudden you see this dad or adult man pushing the referee. If you're watching right now, you see he's got both his hands on the ref. The ref pushes him forward, seems to have ripped his shirt a bit down the middle, and then perfect form tackles him down into the ground. You see a bunch of players that are standing around. Some of them are trying to actually stop the interaction. I love this kid right here who is dancing while the interaction is taking place. We do see a lot of that these days. World star, which is what some people say when there's a fight going on and, I don't know, you're just nearby the camera. This kid's just dancing in front of it. It's got to be super embarrassing because some of these kids know that their parents could potentially do this at any moment in time. So the guys get separated. It's a bad look. I feel bad for the kid of that, I'm guessing, dad, who got very, very upset at a referee. He's clearly being walked out of the arena. His shirt has been ruined. The referee, for his part, doesn't seem to be hurt, does seem to be annoyed, and then the game goes on. Anyway, here is the backstory behind this fight. A wild fight between a parent and a referee spilled onto the court during a youth basketball game in Indiana on Saturday. A verbal altercation turned physical when a male parent reportedly left his seat and struck a game official at Sport One Parkview Fieldhouse in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was all captured on video and posted to Twitter. It was a screen recording of an Instagram video that captured the melee. In the footage, the spectator approached the referee before the video appeared to transition to the two physically fighting. The referee eventually attacked the parent, tackling him to the ground, where they got tangled up near the bleachers, according to the footage. Young athletes on both teams stood and watched while nearby parents attempted to de-escalate the situation. The parent and the referee were eventually separated. The incident occurred during an 8th grade boys basketball game between Team Robinson's 2027 Pink and the Blue Water Hurricanes, which lost the game 78-7. They lost this game 78-7. But this guy's getting mad at the referees. Hopefully, I mean, either way, we don't know what team he's on at this moment in time as I continue to read through the story. Imagine if he's a parent of somebody on the team that won 78-7. I would kind of respect this guy. He wants a clean, honest game. But as you continue reading, the spectator who approached the referee reportedly was a part of the Blue Water Hurricanes, the team that scored 7 points, the team that lost 78-7. Jesus. Imagine getting mad at the referees in a game that you are losing 78-7. If I'm the referee, I'm wondering why the fuck I was even reffing the game. Why am I here? What am I doing? I'm a witness to a bloodbath. I'm witness to a massacre. I'm stuck here watching these two teams play? And I say in quotation marks? It's unclear what started the altercation, continues this story coming out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. However, the parent and referee were seen exchanging words before things turned physical. A witness told a TV station, WANE 15, the parent was complaining about foul calls and after speaking to the referee was asked to leave the game. When the official attempted to get help in removing the parent, the man got in his face and grabbed the referee, according to the witness who said the parent was escorted out of the venue and did not return. The witness claimed they showed officers the video of the incident. Spokespeople for the Fort Wayne Police Department and Allen County Sheriff Department said officers were not called to the scene. So you have a parent attacking a referee. The parent is probably going to beat his kid when he gets home, right? Like, is that a safe assumption to make? It's kind of fucked up to think. But, I mean, they lost 78-7, and he chose to take this all out on the ref. Wonder if Child Protective Services get called. God, that's got to be embarrassing to have your dad going after a referee. And look, when I was playing high school football in Florida, this is an actually serious story. There's no sarcasm behind it. There were 3 people when the games were played at my high school stadium that would run the chains, the first down yard marker and the actual marker that said where the football was relative to the 1st and 10 markers. My uncle and my stepdad were the ones that ran the actual chain. The person who ran the yard marker was one of my teammates' parents. And that parent regularly would get angry to the point of you thought he might come onto the field. I would never see it because I would be locked in on the game, but I would hear about it afterwards. This guy was a big guy, did some roids and stuff. I know this because I talked to his son, who was one of my teammates, and you were just waiting for something to snap. Luckily, it never did. Sadly, though, in real life, this man killed his wife, killed his dogs, then killed himself. It's one of the most fucked up stories that I've ever known people involved in. It's absolutely tragic. I feel horrible for, obviously, the mom killed. She was a very nice lady. For the 2 sons that were left behind, it was absolutely terrible. And it's stuff like this that you actually worry about with youth sports happening on a regular basis. There have been times where I've thought about not being a referee because that is just a thankless job for youth sports, but I've thought about being a youth coach. And I do wonder if this is perhaps in some way, shape, or form linked to where we're at, where coaches always get fired and players don't, where we assume it's the coach's fault. We assume it's the ref's fault, instead of assuming that it's the responsibility of the people that are playing these games for whether or not they win or lose. If you're a youth coach, you're going to have to deal with parents getting mad at you because you're not playing their player, even if their kid sucks at sports. That's fucking awful. But it's something that you have to deal with on a regular basis. And I feel bad. Really. I feel bad for parents. Excuse me, not for parents. I feel bad for these youth coaches. I feel bad for these youth referees. By all accounts, in that little write-up I read, this guy's one of the better referees in Fort Wayne. And yet now he's going to be drawn into this incident because of some crazy fucking parent who he kicked out of the arena that tried to fight him. I get it. Like, you want your kid to do their best. You want them to have every chance to succeed. You need to fight for them, maybe you think, to get on the field and get an opportunity. But generally in sports, it's merit-based. You get on a field, you get on a court because of your talent. So, the story sucks. I feel bad, really bad, for the kids. Specifically, whoever that kid's, the son of that parent that lost his fucking mind. That sucks, and that could be something that gets worse, and hopefully that parent takes a fucking chill pill or a Xanax during these games at some point. Poop Spot builds up his reputation to become one of the better youth basketball referees in all of Fort Wayne, only for it to be destroyed. A Greek tragedy. At twitch.tv/Golan says, yeah, I agree. Yeah. For some people, that stuff is important. I don't know. Haven't you seen 8 Crazy Nights starring Adam Sandler? Speaking of crazy nights, I got to talk to you about something that took place in Galveston this past weekend. Have you guys ever heard of Go Topless Weekend? Jeep Weekend, or Go Topless Weekend, is an annual beach party that started as a gathering for Jeep owners and enthusiasts. The event has grown to be an annual beach party held the weekend after Mother's Day. It can draw tens of thousands of people and be as busy for public safety officials as a major holiday. I had never heard of it until I saw a bunch of headlines about Go Topless Weekend, which is essentially when Jeeps remove their tops and then drive onto a beautiful, I say that sarcastically, Galveston Beach. And it really seems to attract the best people in the world. More than 230 arrests were made during the annual Go Topless Jeep Weekend on the Bolivar Peninsula in Galveston County. And that all happened despite the event being rained out late on Saturday, which led to gridlock. Authorities made 234 arrests and 283 charges were filed, though most, 221, were misdemeanors, such as disorderly conduct and public intoxication. 13 of those charges were felonies. Since Thursday, 60 calls for EMS were made. 40 people were taken to the hospital for various minor injuries. 2 people were taken to University of Texas Medical Branch to be treated for critical injuries. On Friday, a woman was thrown from a vehicle and injured her head, the Galveston County Sheriff's Office said, adding that someone was also robbed of their wallet at gunpoint. The Sheriff's Office said 2 people were shot, but their injuries were non-life-threatening, while authorities believe a 3rd shooting victim may have had critical injuries. It wasn't immediately known if the person robbed at gunpoint is among the 3 who were shot. 3 people shot, 234 arrests, 283 charges, 13 felonies. Last year at Go Topless Weekend in Galveston, a sheriff directing traffic was seriously injured, suffering 2 broken legs, an injured arm, and lacerations after investigators said he was hit by a car and thrown into the windshield. Jesus Christ! In 2022, the sheriff's office said total arrests for the weekend was at 175 during the 4-day event, 17 of which were felonies. So I was looking to find some really just ratchet video of whatever the fuck happened at Go Topless Day. Hashtag Jeep Go Topless Day. And I'm not going to lie, I was very disappointed. First off, I was disappointed by just the quality of people. There weren't a lot of beautiful people there. It was rather ugly. You know, if you go to something like this, you hear Go Topless, you're probably going to think there's a lot of bajongas that are out there. Unfortunately, that was clearly not the case based off of what I saw. And I saw some stuff posted on Twitter, and I'm like, I didn't need to see this. I guess Twitter allows you to post nudity. But I saw a couple of people that were like essentially just dressed in lingerie with their hoo-ha and hooters hanging out. Ugh, it wasn't a good look. And that's the kind of people that are going to fucking Galveston Beach. We're talking about events. Here I am shitting on Green Bay, Wisconsin earlier in the show for getting the NFL draft. I should be focusing on Galveston Beach, which is a disgusting beach. It is a beach that is overrun by flesh-eating bacteria. The sand is awful. The water is brown. It is a terrible, terrible beach. And I get it. It's kind of far to go to Corpus Christi or to better beaches further south in Texas or to drive east. Are there even beaches in Louisiana? Honestly, I don't know. I get it. It's not great. You don't have a lot of options. But Go Topless Weekend, if you're someone with a Jeep fetish, maybe you'd go down there. I still don't get it. I really don't. The people were disgusting. They were gross. No offense to anyone out there, but I think you knew what you were getting into. This quote right here, it just makes me really want to meet the average person. Maybe I'll go there next year. I'll go in disguise. KHOU 11 spoke to some of those who camped out on the beach for the weekend event. It was the best weekend I've ever had in my life, said Zach Daly. We were just out here partying. It's nonstop drinking. It's a good weekend. We've seen a whole lot of stuff. Get you some beads. Gotta get you some beads. Oh my God. Are you that desperate to see some boobs? Are you that desperate? You're going to go to some weekend on Galveston Beach, Jeep Go Topless Day, entirely so that you can get some beads and throw them at women and see some boobs? There's an internet. And you're going to drive down to Galveston to see topless beaches. And everyone knows that this is a fucking shit show. The Galveston County Sheriff's Office doubled its resources, wrote one news outlet, for what is known to many Texans as the wildest weekend of the year on the Bolivar Peninsula. Texans are already packing Crystal Beach for the 2023 Go Topless Jeep Weekend. During the 2022 Go Topless Jeep Weekend, more than 180 arrests were made, 190 misdemeanor charges, and multiple felony charges were filed. And again, we said what it was this year. They got rained out, and there were 230 arrests, 283 charges for 2023. So they doubled the resources, and they almost doubled the arrests. Captain Mark McGuffey with the Galveston County Sheriff's Office said that the 2022 Go Topless Jeep Weekend was, quote, worse than what we've seen in the past. Here's a write-up from the 2022 event. I don't think anyone who lives here particularly likes Jeep Weekend. I think it's a nuisance. It's not so much the event, but the people who tag along and don't have Jeeps. Oh, that's kind of Jeepsist. You don't have a Jeep? You're an unsavory person? Trust me, there's plenty of unsavory people that are driving those fucking Jeeps. In that they're ugly. Anyway, the peninsula gets packed with four-wheelers and slingshot roadsters, she said. There's a huge amount of them, and they are very loud. They trash our beaches and don't clean up. Willis said it usually brings a loud and disrespectful crowd. There's so much traffic that most of us who live here are stuck in our house until it's over. In the past 2 years, the sheriff's office has seen a change in the event. We started to notice that many Jeeps groups started to disassociate themselves from the event because of the negative connotation about what's been happening the past years. Here's a report in 2019. Some people on social media said the party on the beach has gotten way out of hand. How many people have to be seriously injured and or die for there to be some changes made, wrote McKenna Sanders on Facebook, and hundreds of people have signed an online petition calling for an end to the annual event. So I suppose if you're listening to this podcast or watching it, you're probably thinking to yourself, you know what? Maybe this is actually fun. But just think about this from a logistics standpoint. Galveston Beach is not very big, right? Like the beach, if you go from the edge of the sand into the water back, it's probably about the size of, I don't know, like one side of I-10, 4 lanes of traffic at most. Now imagine that one half of the beach is being essentially cut into quarters. And the middle 2 quarters of this beach are just being occupied with Jeeps going up and down. In the front, there is nowhere that you can park before high tide comes in. So there's nowhere that you can really set up shop and enjoy yourself at the beach as it is. But these cars are forcing you to either go all the way into the water, which is disgusting brown and has flesh-eating bacteria, or to the back of the beach. And there's just Jeeps driving all over it. And then to get off the beach, you're going to have to get in traffic with all these Jeeps around you, probably absolutely shit-faced, to get back off the beach and off the road and back to wherever the hell you are. Unless you're, I guess, staying there or camping there on the beach. It sounds absolutely terrible, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I got to say, I do think less of anybody who goes to that. I do. And it's entirely based off of the videos I saw that I can't post and the Twitter videos / pictures that I saw. Take a look if you want. Go look it up. The hashtag is Jeep Go Topless Day. It's gross. Anyway, now you guys know about an event that you guys can do the weekend after Mother's Day every single year here in the greater Houston area. But good God, can we raise our standards? Let's raise our standards from Green Bay, Wisconsin, hosting events. Let's raise our standards from driving to a beach in Galveston where there's going to be a bunch of fucking Jeeps driving up and down it. We're better than this. We are. And maybe some of the people there aren't, but we are. We're better than this. So let's make progress as a race, as a people, okay? Thanks. Anyway, let's read some comments here. Twitch.tv/Gallant says, YouTube.com/Paul Gallant. We got some people talking about what they did over the weekend. What else do we have? Oh, people talking about Jose Abreu. I guess Jose Abreu must have been at the plate, flied out with runners in scoring position. All right, well, there we go. Maybe not as eventful of a show today. We're going to have to find a way to trick more people into coming into the chat to watch the show live. Anyway, appreciate y'all for tuning into today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. We do this twice a week now, weekdays. And by weekdays, I got to change that up. We're not doing it every weekday. We are doing it Mondays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock Central until about 7 o'clock Central or so. If you want to listen to this in podcast form, you can find the Gallant Says podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch it again live, youtube.com/Paul Gallant, twitch.tv/Gallant Says. Big thanks to everybody who tuned in. So long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful day, /night, /Monday, /early Tuesday.